the colonel and one military officer. First of all, does the decision of ACP Dr. Benjamin Agordzo come to you as a surprise, being someone who knows him quite well?
Thank you very much. It is an opportunity for me to express an opinion, and I think that I want to thank Radio Gold for this opportunity. Let me first of all say good morning to my very good friend, Dr. Benjamin Agordzo. He's gone through pain. He's gone through misery. He suffered what we call power abuse. He suffered the frivolity of the Nana Akufo-Addo administration. As Martin Tuobu puts it, the lawyer, it is actually a very frivolous case. To me, I was so surprised that the Attorney General with the power of nolle prosequi, in the midst of the trial, could not have used that legal tool to stop the prosecution of Dr. Benjamin Agordzo. Because it came to a point, and everybody knew, that as somebody who has been working with the United Nations, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Somebody who has been working with the United Nations, somebody who is a trainer, an educationist, he holds a PhD in human rights. If people are going on a demonstration and he decides that, yes, if I'm connected to you and I have this technical background, I will guide you to do what is right. Enjoy your right according to the Constitution without injuring yourself. And this is virtually what he was doing. And gradually somebody says he's trying to turn this country into chaos. He's trying to overthrow the Constitution. It was shocking. But as it may be, we allowed the legal process to continue. Today, it has come to light that everything that Dr. Agordzo did was an act in earnest to allow Ghanaians to enjoy their rights. It was an act never to overthrow the Constitution. He's just a passionate person. He's not political in any sense, as I know him. He's a professional police officer. And over the years, he's demonstrated that he has a sense of humor and he speaks his mind. That is who he is. Hate him or like him, but he wouldn't change because he believes in principles. I am so excited that finally he has been acquitted and discharged. And simply put, the lawyer will tell you, it looks like nothing had ever happened to him. But the pain that he has suffered over the past 4 years, how do we compensate that? And I support the position of the lawyer that the state must be sued for compensation, whatever it is. Even the police administration, I believe that the police administration will have to look at the matter. If the state alleges that you've gotten into criminality, of course, at the end of the day, the state says, oh, you've done absolutely nothing. You need to be restored. In restoration, you need to be sent back to where you belong to. He needs to be reinstituted into the police service. And by sending him back into the police service, even though he has retired, what we are saying is that anything that he ought to have received, anything that he ought to have earned as a police officer from the year 2019 to date, you believe that he had done nothing wrong, so you give it to him. If he was supposed to be promoted in the period, you promote him. If he was supposed to have any salary increment in the period, you give it to him. At the end of the day, he's retired from the police service as if he had done nothing wrong. And that is what I am pleading that it will happen to him, because it is quite painful. I mean, the misery of his family, the pain that the family has suffered. I don't know what kind of compensation the state can ever even give to be enough compensation for the pain that he has suffered. But come what may, that is where we are now. And I want to support lawyer Martin Tuobu. A good job done. We're following through the legal process until he's acquitted and discharged. That they should go further and ensure that the state, through this, what is called malicious prosecution, will not just go scot-free.
And for you are recommending, and of course, backing lawyer Martin Tuobu's proposal that the president gives him that maximum 5-year contract.
Given an extension of service, as we call it, is the prerogative of the president. He can decide to give him an extension of service for 2 years. He can decide to make it 2 years, but definitely he can't do it more than 5 years. If the president decides to say, in the process of compensating him, he's still a very strong man, let me give him a contract or extension of service for 2 years. We will clap for him. But you know what? Sometimes it's very painful that you attempt to slaughter me. And when I'm bruised, The same person comes and says, let me take you to the hospital, and then they take care of you. And you are expected that you should be clapped for because he's beginning to attend to your needs now. But this is the same person who wanted to actually kill you. This kind of life is very bad for our democracy. This kind of life is not what the Constitution dreamed of. The framers of the Constitution of 1992 never dreamed that we will have this kind of government. But can what may, the president, according to the Constitution, has a right to give an extension of service. If he does it, hallelujah. If he doesn't do it, what I'm saying is that Dr. Benjamin Agordzo should be reinstated and retired, in fact, allowed to go on that compulsory retirement very fairly, as if he has never done anything wrong. That is the first step. Reinstituted or reinstated into the Ghana Police Service, given all that he requires to receive as benefit, giving all that he requires if it is in promotion, and allowed to go on compulsory retirement as he deems fit. And after that, if the president feels that yes, he's supposed to be retiring, but I'm extending him. In other words, the president can decide to give him an appointment into any other state institution. Dr. Benjamin Agordzo has the capacity to be a director of any institution in this country, to be a CEO of any institution in this country. If the president decides to give him that appointment as a compensation, why not? The president has the right to do what he wants to do according to the laws of this country.
And I'm wondering what 5 years, such 5 years of absence will mean to a senior police officer at the rank of ACP. What could have happened with those 5 years to him if this had not happened?
Dr. Benjamin Agordzo, he's a certified United Nations trainer as I am. And we've traveled around the world together. We've trained many law enforcement agencies around the world. And he's lost that over the past 5 years. The United Nations will not invite you for any training program because you have a case in court. So that tag on him is a tag that I don't know what kind of compensation can take away that tag in peace. Apart from that, Dr. Benjamin Agordzo, in the past 5 years, we have been promoted to Deputy Commissioner of Police. He has the capacity. He's a very professional officer. He has integrity. He could have been promoted. But he has also suffered. Dr. Benjamin Agordzo is a family person. And if you care to know, his children are as brilliant as the dad. The emotional torture that the children have suffered over the past 5 years, I don't know what kind of compensation can actually compensate for that. Dr. Benjamin Agordzo was doubling as a lecturer in some universities, apart from the UN training that we did together, and apart from the fact that he was the director of the police transformation unit. You see, it looks like the pain that Dr. Benjamin Agordzo suffered actually killed the police transformation. Because if the man heading the transformation unit is going through this, I don't know who will have the ability and, in fact, the good heart and the goodwill to go and start dying for transforming the Ghana Police Service. If he sees that the immediate past director is being taken through a process like that, when you know for a fact that the law court will prove, but you know in your heart that the man is just innocent. Why wouldn't the Attorney General enter a null prosecution for him? Nobody knows. So he suffered so much. And I don't think any kind of compensation will be enough compensation for him. But that is what life is. The experiences he's gone through in this. I'm sure that one day when he's writing his memoirs or he's writing the book, it will be a book worth reading. And we'll see what African politics can do to people. If I'm talking about Dr. Benjamin Agordzo, I'm just looking at Dr. Parkway Sindum in the face. That is the reality of African politics. It is sad that that is not the dream of the framers of the 1992 Constitution. We should be doing better as a country in terms of promoting the rule of law and ensuring that there is transparency, respect for human rights.
Two things. One, would the principled man that you know, Dr. Benjamin Agordzo, accept that extension of service which is coming from a man who you accuse of attempting to destroy him? And secondly, would we have the same passionate, committed man with the room to operate if he's reinstated to his position in the Ghana Police Service, and would he achieve the same results?
Thank you very much. Dr. Benjamin Agordzo, apart from his principle, he's also a God-fearing man. I think that if there is anything that he can do to make this country a better place, irrespective of the pain that he's gone through in the past 5 years. He will still have the courage. He will still have the resilience. He will still have the ability and wanting to do it, and he will do it and do it better. I don't have any doubt. At least his story is telling. Anybody hearing his story, I'm sure he can stand somewhere and tell his story alone. And that story alone can convert people from being very wicked Ghanaians, patriotic Ghanaians. His story alone is convincing enough for you to know it doesn't matter what the state can take you through. Ghana doesn't belong to any family. Ghana doesn't belong to any political party. Ghana belongs to the people of Ghana. And you can suffer any pain. You can suffer any injustice. But at the end of the day, Ghana stands tall, and your patriotism should never be challenged by the behavior of somebody you believe is untoward. We love our country, and there is no country anywhere as beautiful as this country as long as we're born and bred here. If my father was a Chinese and my mother was a Chinese and I was born in China, Peter Tuobu would have been a Chinese. But God knows why. My mother is a Ghanaian and my father is a Ghanaian and I'm born in Ghana. I'm a Ghanaian. I can decide to go and live in the United States. My Ghanaianness doesn't disappear. I can decide to go and live in China. My Ghanaianness doesn't disappear. And we believe, if you talk to Dr. Agordzo, he will tell you, we believe that the intellect that we have, our capacity to do things for this country that has been put in us by God, it was for Ghana. And we can't carry it anywhere again. We will live here, we will work here, we will commit ourselves to national transformation, and we will die here because God brought us here for a purpose. He never makes a mistake. So we will not run away and look for any greener pasture. There is nowhere green in this world than Ghana. It is just mismanagement and corruption that has brought us to where we are now. And the youth are running away from this country in search of some non-existent job somewhere they call a greener pasture. It is a shame. And we need to be doing things better. And that's why I'm praying that come 2025, the new leadership as we all dream of this country, taking over, we'll begin to see hope. Because where we have gotten to, we've wasted just almost 8 years of our Fourth Republic. It is totally wasted. What will be the legacy of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo? What will be his legacy? Corruption, family and friends government, intimidation, victimization. What will be his legacy? If there is anything he can do to correct it, we just have some 10 months to go. And if 7 years, 2 months, can do nothing, the Ashanti people will tell you, 7.5 years, or probably 7 years, there is no hope. What can the 1 year do? What transformation can you do? You can only start something. But we didn't vote for you to come and be starting something in your last year. We voted for you to be commissioning projects in your last year and showing the way, putting Ghana on a transformational path in your last year. But what we have seen in the past 7 years, and we are in your 8th year now, it is a total disaster. It is a total disappointment. And it is the way we have to go. One day the Ghanaian people rise and say, I think that we need to begin to look at leadership as a country, and we need to begin to look at our concept of democracy. If we don't understand the concept, let's go back to school. Let's go and learn what democracy should bring. Democracy is not supposed to be promoting corruption. Democracy is not supposed to be promoting vindictiveness. Democracy is supposed to be promoting transparency. Democracy is supposed to be promoting accountability. Democracy is supposed to be promoting development. But all we do is that we understand democracy to mean elections. From one election, you think about winning the next election. In between the elections, where democracy is very relevant, we do absolutely sometimes virtually nothing. And that is not good enough.
Let me conclude, Honorable, by playing to you the Attorney General right after court, the things he has to say, and take your views on it.
I think that first and foremost, it pays. We must acknowledge the integrity of the judicial process of Ghana. It shows that the judicial process in Ghana actually works. Indeed, if you look at the judges and their examination of the evidence, it was such a meticulous study of all the evidence that has been put together by the prosecution. And I think that what we must be concerned about is that 6 citizens of the country actually have been convicted for this offense. But especially in relation to ACP Benjamin Agordzo, we saw the evidence that was led by the prosecution, how it showed himself supporting the occurrence of an Arab Spring in Ghana. And I do not understand for my life how a police officer trained properly to defend people will actually advocate for an Arab Spring in the country and would also do certain things that would suggest that he himself was actually in support of the occurrence of an Arab Spring. But of course, clearly, the defects with the prosecution case in relation to ACP Agordzo was quite evident. I mean, because he was not on the specific platform by which the accused persons were planning the overthrow of the government. But of course, the evidence that was laid relating to how he intended to disrupt the smooth running of the government by advocating an Arab Spring and all that was quite clear. It's the judgment. And I will entreat all citizens of the country to read the judgment carefully before making any unfounded comments at all. And Kenneth Gamele, to the difficulty or the challenge that we had was a failure on the part of the prosecution witness to identify him in the video. And that really was quite fundamental. But in terms of acts that really were dishonorable, acts were deplorable from the perspective of a police officer or a military officer, you can see that was the service of the trial. Yes. Apart from that, 5 soldiers were actually convicted.
In terms of acts that were dishonorable, deplorable, he said they presented enough evidence to suggest that ACP Dr. Benjamin Agordzo was engaged in acts that were dishonorable, deplorable, and he had an intent to overthrow or curtail the smooth running of the government. That is the Attorney General. What do you say?
Thank you very much. First of all, let me say a big thank you to the judges who sat on the matter. They are judges. And the prosecution, whatever they brought, the judges will look at it. Defense will bring the argument. The judges will study both the case of the defense and the case of the prosecution and make pronouncements. So what the judges have done, that is the legal process. But I am saying that I am very surprised that my good brother Godfrey Dame, the Attorney General, the Chief Legal Advisor to the government, could not see in between the trial and the judgment that, no, for Dr. Agordzo's case, let me enter an early prosecution. The state is not interested, just to cover the shame. What is he talking about? That the fact that somebody is in uniform should not be concerned about the security of his country? That the fact that somebody is in uniform, if you see that imminently there is an Arab Spring unraveling and it's coming, you shouldn't be worried and talk about it? What is he saying? And that cannot be the Attorney General appointed by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo talking. That cannot be him. Because if you look at the history of the president himself, he's a beneficiary of tough speaking. He's a beneficiary of all these things that we are thinking that somebody else is saying that should not be said. That is the president. Are we not in this country that sometimes the president acts as if the constitution doesn't matter? Is he the Attorney General who is actually advising the president? Well, we have gotten to a stage. Dr. Benjamin Agordzo has been acquitted and discharged. Some other people have been convicted. And I know that they are lawyers. So they have the right to go on appeal to the Supreme Court. And I'm sure by now they should be putting papers together to go on appeal. But let's allow the legal process to work. But I'm so disappointed that a senior police officer, the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police, is alleged to have gotten involved in the matter abetting to overthrow the government. And you go through the preliminary process. At the end of the day, you realize that, no, you cannot succeed in prosecuting this matter. Enter a nolle prosequi, save your face, and simple. For 5 good years, you've tortured him. At the end of the day, he's been acquitted and discharged. And we're talking about what? Let's leave it there. He's done his job. He's a prosecutor. But this case will haunt him forever. And I'm thinking that students of law will be so much interested, whether it's criminal law or constitutional law, they'll be so much interested in reading the judgment and seeing how the appeal goes. But gradually, Ghana is in the wrong hands. And I'm sure, come 2024, 7th December, nobody will be thinking about the MPP government again. Not at all.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking to us, Honorable.
My pleasure.
Honorable Peter Lanchin Tuobu is Member of Parliament for Wa West. Join us. Let me say a good